What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. A few hours ago, the Galaxy Unpacked event officially ended, and we now know everything that we wanted to know about the new Galaxy S20 line of smartphones. And I still kind of laugh a little bit because the specs on one of them are just so ridiculous. So in this video, we're going to cover the all-new Galaxy S20, the S20 Plus, and the oh-so-ridiculous Galaxy S20 Ultra. Let's get right into it. So there's a lot to cover from the Unpacked event. I mean, all three of these phones, even from the entry-level S20, are complete spec monsters. We're gonna try and cover as much as we can on all three phones, so go ahead and bear with us. There is a lot to cover. But after we cover the general performance specs and what you should expect from these models in terms of processor, screen size, RAM, storage, things like that, we're gonna talk about the camera system. If you guys spent time watching the actual Unpacked event, you'll know that Samsung spent like 80 to 85% of their time talking about the new camera systems on all three phones, and we're gonna break down those systems on all three phones as well. So let's start off with performance across the line. So performance across the range looks kind of like this. All three phones come with a Snapdragon 865 processor, and all three phones start with a base storage of 128 gigabytes. Now the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra can be upgraded to 512 gigs of storage. Now all three phones start with 12 gigs of RAM, but the S20 Ultra can be upgraded to 16 gigs of RAM, but that's only available in the 512 gigabyte option. All three phones also come with a 120 Hz refresh rate display with the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor built in. Of course, there's the same IP68 water and dust resistance. Wireless charging is available, and wireless reverse power share is also back. Now, in terms of screen sizes, you're looking at 6.2 inches for the regular Galaxy S20. You're looking at 6.7 inches for the Galaxy S20 Plus, and you're looking at a massive 6.9 inches on the Galaxy S20 Ultra. So yeah, the S20 Ultra is a huge phone display-wise, but the entire range is big. I mean, there's not a single phone in this range that is available in a 5-inch form factor. So if you're hoping for a smaller model, this line may not be for you. Other interesting things about the phone, they are utilizing a hole punch cutout similar to the Galaxy Note 10 though, so there's only a singular cutout and you'll find it at the top middle of the display. The bezels on that cutout itself have also been shrunk down. The top bezel of the display has also been slightly shrunk down, so you have a lot of screen real estate. And also, and this is probably my favorite part, they have made the display less curved at the edges. So it's not completely flat, but it's not nearly as dramatically curved as it once was, which is actually really nice. It's going to help with things like accidentally touching the display whenever you're just trying to hold it and watch a movie or play some games. So that's actually pretty cool. Now, before we jump into the cameras, I just want to make note that the batteries on these phones are also beastly. On the entry-level S20, you're looking at 4,000 milliamp hours. On the S20 Plus, 4,500, and on the S20 Ultra, 5,000 milliamp hours. So yeah, really big batteries across the entire range. But honestly, when you sit there and think about what these batteries have to power, a 120 Hz refresh rate display, massive displays, really solid performance. I mean, I sure hope that these phones are going to be battery champs, and I'm sure they will, but the size of the battery definitely makes sense considering the rest of the specs the phone has. Now let's talk about the camera system you'll find on the S20 and the S20 Plus, because they're essentially identical outside of a depth sensor camera that you'll find on the Plus model. So on the front, you have a 10 megapixel selfie camera, and unlike last year's S10 Plus, there's not two, there's only one. So we'll see how that goes. 10 megapixels is pretty decent for a front camera. Now on the back is where you'll find your triple camera array. You have a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle, you have a 12 megapixel wide angle, and you have a 64 megapixel telephoto lens. Now this system is capable of 3 times optical zoom and 30 times hybrid zoom. Now Samsung is calling this space zoom. Not really sure why you wouldn't call it Galaxy zoom, but we'll come back to that at a later time. In the actual Unpacked event, the photos and the videos looked fantastic, and they actually mentioned a couple times that the whole entire Unpacked event was being shot through a Galaxy S20 and then live streamed through the internet. So yeah, the camera setup on this phone looks really promising, but it's supposed to look really promising on their website and in their keynote. Obviously, we will get them in studio and test them. Just know that on paper, these numbers look really, really impressive. Now here's where things get really crazy. Let's talk about the camera setup on the Galaxy S20 Ultra. So front camera is 40 megapixels. I don't know what you need 40 megapixels for on your front camera, but hey, this is the all-out phone, so they're doing it. Now let's go ahead and jump to the back because it gets even crazier. So you still have the same 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, which is fine. Your primary lens, your standard wide angle, is bumped to 108 megapixels. And yes, that is absolutely as ridiculous as it sounds coming out of my mouth right now. But yeah, your primary wide angle is 108 megapixels and your telephoto lens is 48 megapixels. The phone itself is capable of 10 times optical zoom. And in terms of that space zoom that I just mentioned, it's capable of 100 times hybrid zoom using a combination of AI, computational photography, hardware, software, a mix of everything for 100 times hybrid zoom. I don't know what anyone needs with 100 times hybrid zoom, but needless to say, when you see a camera system like this on paper, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, it's probably not that great. That's why they're hyping it up with big megapixel numbers. But regardless, I'm so excited to get this particular phone in the studio to test it, to see if this camera lives up to the hype. Because let me tell you, Samsung hyped up this camera system, so we are going to put it through its paces and see if it lives up to it, and I could not be more excited. Now, another interesting thing to note is that the entire line is capable of 8K video at 24 frames per second. But there has to be a little asterisk associated with that line that I just said. So on the S20 and the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra, yes, you can shoot video in 8K at 24 frames per second, and you can even capture still photos from those videos at 33 megapixels. But in order for that to happen, that means that your lens has to be at least 33 megapixels in size. But if we go back to the camera setup on the S20 and the S20 Plus, their ultra wide angle and their wide angle are only 12 megapixels, which means that if you want to shoot 8K on the S20 or the S20 Plus, it's coming from the telephoto lens. Now this means that your field of view will naturally be shrunk down or zoomed in a little bit because you're shooting from the telephoto lens. Now obviously you won't have this problem on the S20 Ultra because its standard wide angle is 108 megapixels, which is more than capable enough of meeting that 33 megapixel requirement to shoot in 8K. So yes, all of them can shoot in 8K, but just something additional to think about there. So as if the cameras, setups, and the phones themselves were not crazy enough, let's talk about arguably one of the most crazy aspects of the phone, and that's the price. So it's important to note that all three of these phones will only be available in 5G models. So your standard S20 5G is not configurable in terms of storage or RAM, so it's only got one price point, and that's $1,000. Now, your S20 Plus 5G is available in two storage options, 128 and 512. At 128, you're looking at $1,200, and at 512, you're looking at $1,350. Now, couldn't go higher, right? Yeah, it could. So, the Galaxy S20 Ultra is available in two storage options, 128 and 512 gigabytes, and at 128, you're looking at $1,399, and at 512, you're looking at $1,599. So if you want to buy the top of the line Galaxy S20 model this year with maxed out storage, 16 gigs of RAM, the best camera system, the biggest screen, the biggest battery, $1,600. I mean, it kind of sucks that there's no like Galaxy S20e, like their cheaper, like more affordable model that just kind of has some shortcomings. This entire line is super premium, and it shows considering the entry model starts at $1,000 and the top end model specs out at $1,600. So yes, they are going to be very, very expensive, Pre-orders start in 10 days, February 21st, and the first units for pre-order will be delivered roughly March 6th. We will be getting our unit in on March 6th. We will do an unboxing and we will do a review. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you want to watch those videos, make sure you do so. Let me know which Galaxy model you are going to buy or not going to buy and why in the comment section. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.